So my next talk is kind of interesting, and it's how I view top level competition of Melee. And by top, I mean like the very upper echelon of Melee. And I title this the haves and the have-nots. And this is a growing trend we see in other esports where we see the top teams, whether it's in StarCraft or Counter-Strike or League or even Dota, teams are pouring in external resources, whether they're coaches, analysts, nutritionists, chefs, life coaches, to just make sure that the players have every external factor available to them for their advantage to perform well in their game. And for Melee, we're already seeing glimmers of this with Hungrybox having Captain Crunch as his coach slash analyst. Team Liquid was willing to fly him all the way to DreamHack for the sole purpose of supporting Hungrybox. And now we see the Red Bull sponsorship with Leffen. And to clarify, so I might be a little bit wrong, but I'm kind of speculating here about what the Red Bull sponsorship means. And from what I've seen for other people and for athletes that are sponsored by Red Bull, is that they enable and they have the resources to really provide a player to perform at their absolute peak. So where a TSM, a Cloud9 would provide the financial resources and the equipment, the computer, the streaming equipment, what Red Bull can offer are things that can help you mentally and help you do all the external things. So for example, they can provide coaches and analysts. They can provide trainers to help you work out and help your training regimen. They can bring in psychologists and analysts to help you out, and they can also bring in nutritionists to help you with your diet. So what I imagine the sponsorship will really entail is because Melee and any top level competition is a lot about mindset and being able to perform at a high level at any given time, pretty much on command. And not too many people, sans maybe like Armada and maybe Hungrybox right now, really can consistently perform at a high level. Usually there's some sort of mentality issue, or they're, for some reason or another, they're not able to perform consistently at every major. So I think Red Bull's kind of experimenting here to see, if we can control all the external factors, we can control sleep, we can control nutrition, exercise, like, can we get Leffen to perform at peak potential at every national? And as you see, like with top players, they'll commonly say, "Oh, that player just played better. Or he had the right mentality." And so it'll be interesting to see what Leffen is able to do with all that, with all those resources given to him. Maybe he falters. Maybe we see Twitter rants. But this kind of brings me to the topic of the haves and the have-nots. And what I mean by that is we're going to see a lot more of the top players really kind of separate themselves from the pack with the resources that are given to them. So a lot of the big names like Mango and Armada, they get enough money to drop everything else and play full time, which is a really big advantage to compared to other people like myself and people in college or people that have work, where they have a considerable amount of time that they have to dedicate to something else in life, and then on the side they get to play Melee. But whereas Armada, Mango, and all of them, they could think about live, breathe, eat Melee. And when you have two different people that have a different amount of time dedicated to something that they both want to do well, the people that have more time are going to have a greater advantage. So what I foresee is that, given that the top players that already have these lucrative sponsorships are going to separate themselves even further away from the pack, where it's going to be even harder for like people in the top 30 to top 40 to even get players within like 2 stocks. And we're going to see people that are in the top 15 to 25 range that if they're not sponsored soon or they're not able to dedicate full time to Melee, I really see that they're going to slowly drift and fall down the rankings as these other people that do have sponsors and have these resources and want to dedicate full time are going to move up the ranks. It's just a matter of who can spend more time in the game. So it'll be interesting, and I'm not trying to discourage anybody. I think that Melee players overall are pretty lazy compared to other esports. We haven't really gone into this StarCraft mode where these guys are playing like 10 hours a day and they're dedicating like every sort of brain resource. They have analysts that are hammering them in drills. Pretty much, if you want to get to like top 30 level, I think you could do it just with personal effort. But I think what's going to happen in the future is that there's going to be external resources that are poured into the very best that are going to keep continuing to push the top players further away from the pack and to compete. I really do believe that you're going to need every external thing to go into your advantage and every resource to your advantage, like we see in League of Legends right now with them having an abundance of resources that really just help them out.